Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining me and my guest again. So we've been doing some videos, some interviews with some of the worship team members, and really this started at the beginning of COVID and the quarantine, so you can get to know some of your band members a little bit more and hear a little bit more about their story and their testimony, that sort of thing. So today I'm excited about who I am interviewing. I've been looking forward to this one specifically, and very faithful member, and I think you'll be surprised about some of the things that some of the other things that he does. But today is Craig Erickson I'm interviewing. Hello, Craig.
Hi, Lou.
How are you doing?
Doing really well.
Good.
How about you?
I'm not doing too bad. So, Craig plays electric guitar on the team and does an awesome job, very faithful, and always does what I ask him to, in learning lead lines or whatever. So, Craig, I would like to hear a little bit more about your testimony and then how you came to UFC.
Well, I met the Lord personally when I was in third grade, so pretty young age, and I understood quite clearly at the time that I needed a Savior and that I was a sinner, and that Jesus Christ paid the price for my sins. And so I accepted Him then. And over the years, especially like in teenage years, kind of struggled with the things I think every believer struggles with.
Mhm.
And I found that the Lord has a way of using adversity to sort of cause us to think and get back in line, maybe realize what really matters in life, which has kind of been a recurring theme all through life. So I've attempted to walk with the Lord all that time. I
Mhm.
haven't always been successful, but He's always been faithful to me, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
My wife Lori and I came to be at UFC quite a few years ago now, and it was we had been at another church in town and just kind of felt that we were ready for a change, and so
Mm.
we came and visited UFC and found that we had a lot of old friends who were there, and sort of slunk in the back, and we're just kind of seeing what was going on, and it was suddenly like being at home.
Yeah.
So uh, we've been there ever since.
That's awesome. I mean, for one, concerning your testimony, it's encouraging to hear. I think so often we can get, and rightly so, but we get fascinated or enraptured by the extravagant conversions, like, Saul to Paul, Paul of Tarsus, and I think that is awesome. But then there's also something to be said for just the faithfulness from a very young age to following Christ, you know. Um, and then so you came to UFC. So how many years have you been at UFC?
I I think it's been over 7.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
Well, clear back at Roosevelt.
Yeah. And then how long have you been in the worship ministry? Maybe tell us a little bit more about that, and maybe even how you came about playing guitar. I know you've done some studio work, so maybe give us a little bit of background into that.
Well, I started playing guitar when I was in 5th grade,
Okay.
and um, just kind of progressed from there. Played around, played with some bands through high school, and at that time, I also started to get involved in church ministry, like in high school
Hmm.
and college. When I went to school, I was involved in helping to start a new church uh, in La Mirada, California. And so it was up to me and one other person to be in charge of worship there.
Hmm.
And that was back in the very early days of contemporary Christian. So
Did you have
that's
a
how,
drummer?
pardon me?
Did you have a drummer?
Uh, Not at that point.
Yeah.
We would have if we'd had that available. I was
Oh,
playing with a lot of groups who did. We played with full bands other places, but um, like I said, that was the very early days of contemporary Christian, and which played in my favor because the opportunities overcame my skill level, and I was able to get places I probably didn't belong,
yeah,
but had fun doing that.
that's awesome. So, You mentioned La Mirada, California. Did you grow up in California?
No,
No. Okay.
no, I actually grew up kind of up and down the West Coast. Went to high school in Eugene though,
Okay.
and as soon as I turned 18, I wanted to go to school down at Biola,
Oh, okay.
and so headed down there.
Yeah. So what is your degree in?
Business.
Okay.
Yeah, I started off. I was one of those people. I didn't know what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
and bounced all around. At one point, I was in comparative literature, um, and finally wound up just going for general business. Finished up here. I came back north after a number of years down there because I ran out of money
Hmm.
um, and started to miss the seasons, and had been living down there and enjoying it, but
Yeah.
uh, really missed the Northwest.
Yeah. And there's something very unique about the Northwest. I haven't lived a whole lot of places really besides the Northwest, but visiting family member, friends, something pretty great about Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And I think too, like the time when we spend in college, I mean, that is kind of a searching and a figuring out, okay, what do I want to do, you know? And
Hmm.
so yeah. Well, um, so we talked about, you started guitar playing when you're in fifth grade. Who are some of your favorite bands? Like who influences you?
Oh wow. I tend to skip around a lot, probably musically,
Hmm.
uh, probably Pat Metheny more than
Oh, okay.
anyone, just because his scope and scale is so broad and he's so gifted.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of different people along the way with different styles. Uh, I really appreciate Phil Keaggy.
Yeah.
Um, uh, uh, Rick Derringer.
Okay.
I don't know if you know who he is, but
Mhm.
he's quite a gifted guitarist.
Yeah.
Uh, but there's so many great players,
Yeah. Oh,
and
there's.
I tend to kind of go after the technical end a lot of times when I'm listening to guitarists, and so have to really um, there's musicality and there's technicality.
Hmm.
Technical precision, there's so many super fast players, but it's not really enjoyable to me to listen to their music because there doesn't seem to be a lot of warmth and heart in it.
Right.
So balancing those two, I think it takes both of those to really excel.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. There's something different between just watching somebody being able to play a chord or a lick and then having their like an emotive part or a heart part from it. Yeah. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
Oh, that's a really I can't think of a best concert. Um, way back when I went to an Al Di Meola concert,
Okay. I've heard the name.
and he's incredibly gifted, kind of Spanish oriented, Latin oriented music, jazz, and that was probably that was probably the most blown away I've ever been listening to a musician.
Yeah. Was it just him solo or was it him with a band?
Oh, it was with a whole band.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. That's great. That's awesome. So we've talked a little bit about, um, your background and your love of music and guitar playing. But I'm going to share my screen with you, and I hope that it comes through on the recording. If not, well, I don't know what to do. Anyways, so I don't think a lot of people may know that you do paintings. So are you looking at the paintings, Greg? Can you see them?
Yeah. Yes.
So these are all paintings that you have done, and they're amazing. And I was hoping, we were talking a little bit, so you're gonna have to repeat yourself. But um, how did you come to paint? And like, yeah, how long have you been doing it? How did you come to love it?
Well, I've been drawing ever since I was old enough to hold a pencil. So that has just kind of grown along the way. And I've done, some graphic design and um, various artwork. And really, about 10 years ago, I became really interested in pursuing fine art type
Mhm.
painting, and so really
Wow.
dove into that. And it's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding.
Yeah. So you've been doing this for just 10 years?
Yes, the I mean, I've been drawing and doing things for many, many years,
Wow.
but as far as um, this kind of thing, yeah, about 10 years.
This is amazing. So, maybe walk us through, yeah, your process. Like, how do you come to like choose a spot and what does that look? I've kind of wondered like what that looks like for a painter. So for you, how do you go about finding the spot and the process of that?
Um, what I'll do is I'll find a site that I would like to try. Sometimes I'll go around aimlessly and look for something to do,
Really?
uh, and that is usually not highly successful, but you never know, you can get surprised.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is I'll take some reference photos, do some pastel sketches on the spot,
Uh-huh.
and oh, that one got changed. That's oriented incorrectly.
Yeah. Beautiful though.
Oh, thank you. Um, uh, then what I do, it takes me a long time to do a painting because I build up layers of glaze that are translucent. And
Mhm.
so it takes many, many layers. So once I get the tones and the basic structure of what the composition should be, then I go back and work on that at home and do the painting. And it takes, it can take a month or more to complete a painting.
I mean, this is amazing. This to me looks like a photograph. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Um, do you have a favorite painting that you've done? And if so, is it on here?
No, well, actually, if yes, there is one of Peter and John Mark that's actually my personal favorite painting.
Is it
It's
this
the
one?
one right there. Yes,
Cool.
and that's just my imagination. I
Mhm.
did some research on some of the artifacts and what the clothing would have looked like, and so on. But that's just my imagining what it may have looked like when Peter was relating his experience with Christ to
Mm.
John Mark. And I just thought, what would that have been like to be sitting down together and just being taught, okay, here's what was said, here's what happened. Um, you know, I just I like that whole concept. I especially like the concept of John Mark, where here's a guy who kind of washed out, and
Mhm.
it's really Peter that gave him a second chance and brought him along,
Yeah.
and and that that just really warms my heart. That whole idea that you're never finished, you've never blown it impossibly. There's uh, there's always redemption, and so that's what that painting is
Mm.
all about.
That's pretty cool. That's an that is an interesting thought. Just like we're having a conversation, they had a well, not just like obviously they didn't have Zoom, but you know what I mean. Just like we're having a conversation, they had a conversation, and but firsthand account of Jesus Christ. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So, and these are great. So, well, that's
Well, thank
awesome. Um, how I kind of like to um, at the end of our conversations, I'd like to see, check in, how are you doing with the quarantine? Any way that we could be praying for you, but then maybe some like unexpected blessings that have come out of, as we're entering various phases, it's kind of things are opening up. But what has been a blessing of the quarantine for you and Lori?
Well, I think for us, we enjoy being together. We have a lot of fun together, and um, it has kind of helped maybe tone down some of the activity level a little bit, so we can spend time together and enjoy that. Um, I you know um, I think it's been really good for us to exercise faith and trust in a situation that we really have trouble getting our hands around and understanding. I think it's really easy in our culture that we're used to controlling everything.
Hmm.
And I think it's probably good for believers once in a while to feel like things are out of control that forces us to depend on God.
Yeah. And that's really probably the reality of the situation, you know? I mean, we really don't have as much control as we think we do.
Right. And I think of us as a church, we're in the situation now where renting from a school looked like, man, that's a stroke of brilliance. And now we're kind of a prisoner of that in a way we never expected to see.
You know?
And, here again, it's just another opportunity. You know, God will work it out. We
Yeah.
need to be smart and do our part, but He's going to work it out.
Yeah.
And He's not going to keep us from being able to meet together.
Yeah. That's good. That is good. That's
He's not
encouraging.
going to allow us not to meet together, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually, this will work out.
Hmm. And I think we're all hoping sooner rather than later, but yeah, I think that's a good word, and just continuing to trust in him, you know? Um, well, any way that we could be praying for you and Lori or family and that sort of thing?
Um, I don't have anything really to request. I just, we're trying to remember to pray for the body at large
Mm.
because we know that there's a lot of people that this is hitting in really unfortunate ways.
Yeah.
And, we've been very sheltered actually. So our our cup is pretty full. So we're trying to look for people to pray for and be in
Mm.
contact with who are hurting through this, and they're not hard to find.
Mm. Yeah. Well, thank you for today, Craig. Thanks for having this short conversation, and I'm excited for others to get to know you and your many gifts and talents. So thanks for joining me in the interview.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your ministry, Lou, and I'm really blessed to be part of the worship team. Really enjoy it a lot.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate that.
Thanks.